Hello.
Oh, hey, it's famed film investigator Poirot.
Tis I, famed film investigator Poirot. I have come here to investigate your podcast. From what I've gathered, you boys will start by talking about your experience with the movie. I have come to conclude that this being a movie you've never seen, you'll probably say something about how you've never seen it. Then, I believe, are you with me? Are you staying with? You will go into a scene-by-scene breakdown of the film. Probably talking about it in the context of whatever category you're doing this month. And then at the end, you will give your tier ranking.
That's very impressive, but you're also just looking at my notes.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so very much for listening, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Forecast. My name is Alfredo,
Very smooth.
and with me, as always,
It's a smooth Connor, being smooth.
and you are listening to Cinema Forecast, the movie podcast, where, of course, every month we are randomly assigned a movie category. Attached to said category are 4 movies that we feel fit the category. And each week we go in depth on one of the films, talking about it, you guessed it, in the context of that category. This month, our category is
It could be anyone.
It Could Be Anyone. And the film we've chosen to watch today is Sidney Lumet's 1974 Hercule Poirot on-screen adaptation, Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah, and this is the first movie we've done that neither of us have seen, which is pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Very wild. Great. Fun. Silly. Wow. Yeah, usually up top we'll talk about our history with the movie. I guess since we both haven't seen it, I will say I've always been a sort of fan of the mystery genre.
Yeah.
My mom is a big police novel reader.
Oh,
and
really?
so I think because of that, I've always kind of really liked this sort of genre. My experience with Hercule Poirot, however, is rather limited. The only movie of his I've seen is Murder on the
Oh.
The only movie I've seen of the Hercule Poirot world is Murder on the Nile, but I saw the Kenneth Branagh version.
This is very interesting news for me. I didn't realize he was like a Sherlock Holmes type. Like he's across multiple stories. That's what you're telling me right now?
Agatha Christie wrote several Hercule Poirot stories. Yes, I think there was even a television show at one point.
Wild. Yeah, well, so since we both, like you said, don't have history with it, did you have any like big expectations going into it, or like?
I know that these stories are a little formulaic, so I definitely remembered like that aspect, like going into it. And also was just constantly looking to be like thrown off in several ways. I mean, I'll say right now, I'll say it up top. When he has the handkerchief and it has an H on it, and he goes, her name is Natalia. Oh, she says her name is Natalia, a Russian name. I was like, in Cyrillic, an N is an H.
Oh, nice.
So like I was already like I was
So
primed.
predictable.
I didn't say that. I was so primed to like just be ready in that mindset of like, I feel like there's like people who go into a movie and they're like, I'm gonna solve this, especially like a movie that is that has some sort of like twist, right?
Yeah.
Like
I was definitely trying.
I heard this story about like a guy who went to go see The Sixth Sense with his dad, and like his dad like figured it out like halfway through the movie. Like there's just people who are like that. I tend to like really sort of suspend disbelief really well and get really immersed, especially it always depends on like the storytelling style and everything, but that's usually pretty easy for me. I do, as like a cinema dude and a person who's like worked with like film equipment, I do like to think about like how things are executed, stuff like that. But it's only really in this sort of context where I'm like, okay, like who's the murderer? Can I figure it out? You know?
Yeah.
Can I see what the movie's trying to make me think versus what the truth is?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess I'll just go straight into the themes I wrote down for It Could Be Anyone, because it kind of ties into what you're talking about. And I was kind of struggling with this one. This is a little bit more, especially once we get through each of the movies and why we chose each of the movies, you'll see what I mean more, audience. But it's kind of a nebulous category in a lot of ways. I'm like, it could be anyone, could mean a lot of things. What I went with is number 1, paranoia. And number 2, I think this might be the theme that's come up the most often, but it felt fitting, isolation. Number 3, trust. Number 4, this is very nebulous, but I feel like is applicable, the anomaly that is man. And number 5, mental chess match. I want, if it could be anyone, that implies mystery. It implies there's some kind of fuckery going on, and I feel like it's either a chess match within the world or a chess match with the audience. And I definitely felt like this movie was specifically like a chess match with me for the reasons you were just talking about, where I was like, okay, like, because you were saying too the tropes, right? Like right at the start, I'm like, okay, who's the one you would suspect the least? So did you have like a first suspect? For me, it was like Pierre. He feels like he kind of fits the one you'd least suspect. He also kind of, even though there is a butler, he's also kind of the butler role of the train, because he's serving everyone and he's in the background, so he has like connections to everything. So he was my like first guess. Did you have one?
I can't remember who my first suspect was. I think there was a part of me that thought it was going to be Mr. Bianchi or Dr. Constantine. But I just want to say, I think part of the reason why this is hard to nail down is because we did a very specific thing. And it will come up through the, like, when the other movies come up. But I'm just going to say right now, we've basically done 2 different categories in one category.
Yeah.
We put together the whodunit and the sort of like shapeshifter horror category into one category, which I was thinking about, like, nailing down themes makes it's so much broader than it could be if you just broke it down.
Yeah.
And I was like, would it have been better if we had just done that? And I was like, maybe, but also it's kind of fun to like throw these disparate things together, because like ultimately this movie is kind of silly. Like it is like
It's very
it's a
silly,
bit of like a comedy. There's a lot of really like heightened stuff. And spoilers, but the other whodunit we're doing is also a bit of a comedy. Well, that one is maybe even more of a comedy. And I was thinking about it, a lot of whodunits like do have this like comedic flavor. It's actually funny because the Murder on the Nile, definitely like they play it much straighter. Actually, it's really funny because like Hercule Poirot, it feels like Kenneth Branagh is trying to make him like cool and sexy. And like watching this movie, I'm like, no, that's the whole point. He's not supposed to be like that. He's supposed to be like weird, like little guy.
Murder on the Nile, he's supposed to come across as sexy? That's what you're saying? Or it feels that way?
No. So Kenneth Branagh, the actor and director, is doing Hercule Poirot movies. He did Murder on the Orient Express and he did Murder on the Nile.
Yeah.
And Murder on the Nile is the only other Hercule Poirot movie I've seen. And it is the new one with Kenneth Branagh. And his take on Hercule Poirot is that he's sexy, is
Cool.
what I'm saying.
Cool.
Like,
That's what I thought you meant.
He's
yeah.
playing him.
Yeah.
But not just Murder on the Nile. Like all of Kenneth Branagh's execution of Hercule Poirot
Yeah,
is sexy.
I was trying to figure out what exactly is going on with him. It kind of seems like he has a hunchback.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe like it would have been worthwhile to look at some like book descriptions of him.
Yeah.
Because I knew that he had the mustache. I knew he was Belgian. I knew he kind of like enjoys the finer things in life as well. But yeah, I don't know.
He walks with such a stiff posture. Like when he turns, he has to turn his whole body. He doesn't like, turn his neck.
Like in the new ones, he I think was like a soldier. Maybe he was a soldier in that one. Probably, I mean, would have served in like World War I or something. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know much about his background other than in the new one I saw he gets a scar and that's why he has a mustache.
Sweet. Okay.
But I don't think that's canon.
Man, yeah, I'm so out of the loop. I had no idea this was a what would you call that? A franchise, I guess.
An established character, yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Well, should we get into it?
Yeah. I like the credits. Like also another 1974 film. We're staying on the same year.
Yeah.
Such a different vibe.
Yeah.
Definitely felt like we're kind of seeing 2 extremes of 70s cinema. But the opening with the piano, it's very like jaunty and lively, and there's like this sort of like silk sheet with like a cool border. I like the font. The song kind of reminds me a little bit at one point, like, because it's kind of vacillating between this very like dramatic, almost like Andrew Lloyd Webber-esque like Phantom of the Opera riff
Yeah.
to like this very like almost like The Entertainer by like Scott Joplin, you know. It was very weird, but I felt like it fits the mood
Yeah.
of this film.
I liked it a
well.
lot. It was very it was unsettling a lot of times, and sometimes like that campy kind of joy you're talking about in it added to the this feeling of unease, right? Like, why is this sound so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
cheery and yeah. I like that. Richard Rodney Bennett is the composer.
Especially like right before this whole like opening newspaper scene,
Yeah.
you know, like I thought it was even more sort of haunting once it was contextualized that way.
Yeah, it's cool. It's often I like how quiet most of the movie is in a lot of ways. Like not quiet with, the whole soundscape because there's usually a lot of people talking, but like the music wise, it's usually very understated unless it's like shots of the train moving across the countryside. That's when you get these like big bombastic and then the more horror sequence they would lean into some of the creepy stuff there. Yeah, good stuff. I also liked the opening title card sequence. It felt like by far the most like classic like cinema thing, like old school
Yeah.
film. There's like the velvet background and the gold overlay as it went through like a really long time of credits. We just don't see that ever anymore. But yeah, made me nostalgic, put me in the mood right away. And I really, really love this whole opening sequence, especially put into the context of what we find out through the rest of the movie. And it's funny because, yeah, this came out the same year as The Conversation. And if you listened to our episode last week, the opening sequence of that movie.
2 weeks ago.
Yes, 2 weeks ago, that's right. The opening sequence of that movie also ties into the rest of the movie, and you'll be flashing back to that opening sequence the whole movie. So I thought that was a really random coincidence that both of these films have that in it.
Yeah.
But this is such a like unique way to start a story and so strange. Like it was almost giving me like silent film vibes at first because it was just music. There's very little sound effects or anything. It's just flashing back between the newspapers, the characters who were involved in this crime, the kidnapping.
It's like what happens is like it's very dark and the like they're acting out the moments be like leading up to, and then boom, like a photograph is snapped of it. So it's like all of these like they're like moving like film parts, then like it turns into a photograph. Like
really
essentially.
Cool. I thought that was an extremely strong opening.
It is cool. I think that some of the maybe it was the editing or the transitions or how repetitive it was like right off the bat. I felt like maybe like I was like this is interesting. I'm intrigued by it, but there's some things that are bothering me about it, and I kind of like would like to know what the conversation was around like how do we start this thing? And I love how it comes back and it is like this sort of like thread you can hang on to, but yeah, it just feels so strange, especially the way that the movie just like starts moving on from there.
Yeah. Well, I would say the part after it makes it feel a lot more disjointed, but the section itself really worked for me.
Yeah, again, I don't know what it was. I think maybe it's just like the way it was so dark, and I don't know. I was like, I feel like there's some things that could have like been like it could have been refined a little bit, especially given that it seemed to be like a pretty big like budget production.
Yeah, for sure. One of the newspaper headlines was "Crushed Toys, Crushed Hopes," setting up the kind of horror that haunts most of the characters in this film, as we'll come to find out.
Yeah, I will say I liked it overall. Like, I think it's cool. Like, I think it's dope, and I think it's like I think the way it all comes into play is really cool. There were just like a little like I guess it's almost like I I liked it so much that I was like, oh, I feel like it's almost like perfect. Like there's just like a couple like nitpicks, but it was fun enough to be defeated. You know, in the end, it wins out. But yeah, you know, like I said, I like it. I like it. I think it's great. But I do like there's this like resistance.
Yeah, I could feel it. I mean, it's definitely very jarring, and it goes on for a long time. I was like, what, for
Yeah.
a bit, but like I like that more, especially in hindsight. But like in the way it sets up all the little mysteries, where it's like made garden at 3 a.m. planned question mark, and then showing you the parents landing on a plane, and you're immediately like, wait, who are these people?
Yeah.
And then the way
And all the reporters like mobbing the plane as they get off.
yeah, and then the way it flashes one last time on the paper, and it's Daisy found slain,
Yeah.
and it turns bright red, and that's kind of the end of this whole sequence. And I'm like, damn, that was very intense. It elicited some stuff out of me. I thought that was really good.
I'm so curious how they do this in the book.
Yeah, I could imagine it like might not even have anything like this. Like it could just start with the conversation between Poirot and all that. Am I saying it right? Poirot?
Poirot.
Poirot. 5 years later, they are arriving on the boat, and
5 years later, the Asian side of Istanbul.
yes, which is cool. Yeah, it looked like Constantinople back there, or Istanbul. Yeah. The Hagia Sophia, that super cool building that I really want to see. Yeah, this whole section, I was very intrigued. I will say this was like a very hard movie to take notes for a first time view, because I was like, do I take notes on everything, or because there's so many characters being introduced for so long, and there's just like so much dialogue that could be relevant but that isn't. But I'm also knowing this is a like murder mystery, so everything could be
feel
important.
very intentional, like with the placement of everything.
Yeah.
I think I do want to say right off the bat, I love the color and the grain of the film. It looks really, really pretty. Like, and I love the like immediately when we are opening, and as they go to like the ferry, just like the richness of all the colors. It looked really awesome. I think it like spoke to sort of the opulence of it. That's another thing. Like this movie is very much like it felt very much like we're in the like high society. Like, you know, there's a fucking princess like throughout the like movie, but I feel like the richness of the color like kind of spoke to that as well. And the sets are fucking amazing in this. Like all of the production design, all of the costume, all of that shit looks great.
Yeah.
He looks pretty fucking great too. Like Poirot, he looks fucking silly as fuck.
He looks so silly. Yeah, we were talking about his posturing and everything, and for so much of the movie, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And then finally, like, okay, he's the detective. Got it.
It's so wild to me that it's Albert Finney too. Like,
yeah. No, I was just looking him up before we started. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So like, you know, Old Man and Big Fish. Yeah, I've seen him in a few things. That's wild. I would never have suspected.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great actor. And
he really
like,
is.
It's funny to see him in this, because, yeah, I don't like. It's just so weird because I always see him like so serious, and this feels like such a comedic role.
Yeah, this is a hard role. This is a really hard role. He's juggling a lot doing this guy.
Yeah. I was trying to remember the last movie I saw him in, and I saw him in The Duelist. He plays Fouché. That movie fucking rips.
I need to see
that.
that
Movie's really sick. Yeah. Love that movie. Talking about fucking sets and fucking production design. But yeah, he's usually so fucking serious, you know? Or it's like him being funny as his character. This is like he's playing like a silly little man. I also picture him like being like big, but I guess he's not as big as I thought he was. Like,
yeah,
I pictured him being kind of tall.
This is all new to me, and this is my introduction of this character. So,
no, not Poirot. I mean Albert Finney. I thought he was taller, like the actor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I really wonder what they got going on with his back leg. Like, Hunchback is the thing that kind of like makes the most sense to me, but they definitely have something padding. Like, it almost looks like he's wearing like 50 layers or something, where he's just
Yeah.
so freaking bunched up. And
Yeah,
like,
he looks like he's constantly shrugging.
yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, there's some conversation. Is it between Poirot and
So we do hear we hear the
McQueen.
Miss Debenham,
yeah?
like right off the bat. You know that's a name that we're sort of introduced to. But you mean Poirot speaking to like the British guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says that Poirot saved the British garrison in Jordan.
Right.
And so he just completed some sort of like job or something, or he has some case, right? He was on helping the British out in Jordan, which is reprehensible, really, if you ask me. But hey, whatever. It was a different time. So he's done with the job, and now he's being sent back to. He's going back to like I guess England. I don't know where he lives, but
Well, he was going to another job, I believe, right? I think that's what his what's his friend's name who owns the whole train line?
Bianchi.
Yeah, he mentions that he's expediting him to get back to England for some important case. I think he says.
Oh, word. But yeah, he is. So he's heading to England. He's heading via taking this ferry to a train,
Which I think is taking them to Prague, and then they're taking a plane from there. Was that what they said? Is it they're
I figured it was a train ride, just like
because they're
I don't
going
know.
through Yugoslavia. I think they mentioned Prague at some point.
yeah. Lots of cities get mentioned.
Yeah, there's so much dialogue. It's like a lot. It's a lot to take in. But really, I like this kind of immersive vibe though. Like it feels very naturalistic. We've talked about it a couple times. Like Jaws definitely had that vibe. It's just like a lot of people talking about a lot of different things. It's cool to just kind of be dropped into this world and, figure it out for yourself, like a detective, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly like a detective. I like this shit about like their little back and forth where he says the Bosphorus is always calm, the English guy, and then Poirot goes, "You've crossed by the ferry?" No.
Yes,
And then he like
I
says,
got this line.
Yeah, and then later on he fucking says, I think before that, oh yeah, he says the
church
of
is magnificent.
The Church of Santa Sofia is beautiful. You've seen it? No.
No.
Pretty fucking good.
And then we see Sean Connery too. I forget the Colonel, right? What's his full name? I think he calls.
His name is Colonel Arbuthnot.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it's Arbuthnott, which is funny because it feels like the guy who's saying it, like, is saying Arbuthnot. He's like, no, it's Arbuthnot. It was funny to me.
Yeah. So it's so funny because I'm like, how many tropes come from this, and how much of this is just from like Sherlock Holmes? Because like you got the butler, you got the colonel, you got the like. There's just like this big cast of characters that we've seen like. Parodied so many times throughout the years of like, people from all over the place that are like these big characters and they're all murder suspects. Like, is this the first one? No, certainly not. Right?
I don't know. I feel like it's like they like to have, again, I think with there's something with the high society conspiracy and these different like, people who are part of this social group for different reasons, diplomats, you've got like military people, like just wealthy people, like business people. But yeah, I don't know. It's always fun because I think it points to a richness, right? Where it is like this person has a storied past
Right.
and a very sort of like rich history to draw from, right?
Right.
They're not, and I think it's also used sometimes to be like where they'll present more humble seeming characters, and then there's like, oh look, there's actually depth to this person as well. But I do have a description of Hercule Poirot. The first description, here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
He was hardly more than 5 feet 4 inches,
Oh.
but carried himself with great dignity. His head was exactly the shape of an egg, and he always perched it a little on one side. His mustache was very stiff and military. Even if everything on his face was covered, the tips of mustache and the pink-tipped nose would be visible. The neatness of his attire was almost incredible. I believe a speck of dust would have caused him more pain than a bullet wound. Yet this quaint dandy little man who I was sorry to see, now limped badly, had been in his time one of the most celebrated members of the Belgian police. That's what it is. He was a Belgian policeman. Yeah, so it sounds
love that.
So it sounds like he has like a limp.
That's a great
Doesn't sound like
description.
he's like a hunchback. Maybe he's like playing the like head thing, or he's trying to make himself. I don't know. Maybe he is taller and he was trying to make himself look small. Who knows, man?
I don't know. There's
It was
something
such
going
a
on
choice.
there.
There's so
Yeah.
many choices he's making with this
Yeah.
character.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I enjoyed it, but there's definitely something going on
The
with this
accent's
back.
also insane. Like
Yeah.
the accent is wild. It's
Yeah.
so wild. It's so like an English man like playing like a Belgian dude.
He sounded very French to me, but I guess I just don't know the difference, which is what someone tells him in the movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, like he's doing like a French accent, but it sounds like I'm saying like it's wild, like it's like it could have definitely been executed much better, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's a great accent. I think it's maybe serviceable. You know, I'm able to like put it to the back of my mind for the rest of the movie, but I'm like, damn, that's such a choice.
I guess it worked well enough for me because I didn't know who, like, I didn't recognize him, right? I was just like, okay, I don't know who this is, but I didn't assume it was an American.
Well, you mean the actor playing him?
Yeah.
But so it registered as a fully functional French accent for you?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. I don't have a great ear for this, as we know as well. So, I'll take your word for that. It could be better.
He does call I think Sean Connery, he calls him a frog,
Yes,
right?
he does. He says, obviously a frog. And I was like, oh, ouch.
And this is the scene right here where, you know, we see Colonel Arbuthnot and Miss Debenham. Although I don't know if we know at the time it's them. They have like a little like secret, like we see the shot of them like talking to each other on the
Right. I
ferry.
love that throughout the movie too. Yeah, again, the conversation. We're just constantly cutting back and forth between the events that have happened. I love this beautiful sunset shot.
Yeah,
with the
really
ship
sick
sailing
wide
away.
shot of the Bosphorus.
Yeah, with Istanbul in the background. It's just gorgeous. Yeah, and then we cut to the hotel, I believe. And
We see the band jamming. They're
Yeah, I
wearing
was-
the red fezzes.
I was really trying to look up what this song is because I'm pretty sure it's some like musical number from before this, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, you were talking about the sets, and this set really stood out to me with the bright blue windows in the background. Like blue is such a big theme in this story. And I don't know exactly what it represents. It's almost like the cool, calm, collected calculation of murder or something. Like, I don't know what exactly it's supposed to evoke, but it's used a lot. And yeah, really striking scene. We see him meeting with his friend here for dinner.
Yes. Bianchi and Poirot are reunited, and he says to him, "You saved me from apoplexy," because Poirot hasn't been liking any of the food or the wine or the coffee.
He's very picky. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little xenophobic.
Yeah. There's no more first class spots on the train, but that will not do for Bianchi.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. There's like this mention of, has Bulgaria declared war on Turkey? And it's just so funny how there's like so many throwaway lines like this, like about just like the time and stuff.
Yeah, it's a cool setting. I always feel really bad for people in the 20s and 30s when I'm seeing in movies where I'm just like, they have no idea how horrible things are about to become.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, things have already been pretty horrible as well.
I know, but you finally you fight this huge, horrible war, the Great War. You finally think you're through. You're like, okay, we can move on as a nation and a world now. And then boom, Great Depression. Boom, even worse war. Brutal.
This is where we first see Ratchet as well.
Yeah,
He's got his cigar and he's watching Poirot as he sort of like leaves.
Yeah. I just have some notes on just like the whole like train station section where it's just like so many characters being introduced, like you were saying,
Yeah.
seeing them from like all these insane costumes, and it's really like juxtaposed by like, the less wealthy like train station they're in, where you see a lot of people in poorer clothes and stuff. There's people trying to sell their goods, and
Yeah, a lot of vendors.
and then there's just like, the epitome of extravagance walking up on this train.
Yeah, it's cutting between like the kitchen, like the chef, like, and I don't know if he's like a customs agent or something, or like a train attendant, like all inspecting all the food going onto the train and the different people arriving. I love the Princess Dragomirov with her fucking dogs. Like,
Yes.
it's so fucking funny. Like,
And it looks so strange, and she
she looks wild.
she
Yeah.
has this white makeup on her face. She has her hair straight out of like Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. And just like, the most wild gown ever, in a wheelchair with behind her her maid with her 2 dogs. Just like, what a sight. Oh yeah, and I noticed here the spilling oranges.
Yeah.
That's Godfather reference, right? I believe that was like the one that really started that trend of like the oranges spilling being an omen of death or whatever.
I thought it was an Avatar, The Last Airbender reference.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know if that's really witty or not. Is there a big orange scene in that?
Then we got Mrs. Hubbard showing up. Mrs. Hubbard is fucking great. This is Lauren Bacall, for those of you who don't know, legendary actor. She's so great in this. One of my favorite, I think, performances, and the way it ties together later on is great. But I love how much she's just like talking from the very beginning. You know?
Oh yeah.
And she like notices Poirot like as well. Like we see like as other people arrive, they don't really like pay him any mind, but she like really like sort of like
Yeah.
focuses on him.
And yeah, it's funny because there's so many suspect moments from all these characters, and like you were saying, like this is like my theme of mental chess match, right? Where the movie's playing a game with me where I'm like, okay, what is a red herring here? Who is actually planning what and plotting what? And it totally makes sense in hindsight that it was all of them.
You know what I think is really wild about this movie too is that it is such like an ensemble cast. You have Sean Connery, Lauren Bacall, you have Ingrid Bergman who shows up. She's the Swedish missionary, and she thinks that she lost her like medal of Saint Christoph.
Yeah.
This is kind of silly the way she gets stormed by all the vendors, and then like she's like, oh wait no, and they're like all trying to offer her different like religious like symbology for like luck and stuff. That was fun. It's so wild because it's such an ensemble cast. But the tone is so wild. Like it's so silly, but like also then like gets like very dramatic.
Yeah.
It feels very like it just feels like a tone that you don't really see these days.
Yeah.
Like,
It's very larger than life. It's very everything's just bigger. It feels like you're on a stage play, like for like especially the beginning, and there's some things in the opening, like it really feels like it almost feels like this tongue-in-cheek kind of performance for you.
yeah, I think it's just like I almost I expected to see it played much straighter, like much more serious, not so like silly. And it's very like it like threw me off a lot, but it was fun. Like I like that the movie is fun because this movie, I think, ultimately, like I don't think it's the greatest movie I've ever seen, but I had a good time watching it, and like it makes me like I kind of want to watch maybe more of the older iterations of Poirot and see how silly they are, because like the new one is played much like straighter. Like he's still a little silly because he has like his like sort of like mannerisms, but definitely much more serious take.
For sure. There's a really great shot once everyone's on the train, where I believe it's just Pierre going down the hallway of all the rooms, and you get like just another great like it's kind of like reaffirming all these characters you just met, and it's like boom boom boom, and they're all kind of like sitting in their room, and you get like a glance of them doing their own little thing. so much character. I really, really like that, and I've talked about that a couple times. I love stories with a lot of big characters that are really distinct and interesting, and I feel like that's definitely
they're all
here.
very memorable.
Yeah,
like
for
I mean,
sure.
I think in the same scene you're talking about perhaps is like when Ms. Hubbard pops out and like starts complaining immediately
Yes,
about
yeah.
like about the like status of her room or whatever. And then like we get Mr. McQueen, you know, seeming so fucking sketch with
Yeah.
like, hey, by the way, we're gonna put Poirot in like your same room, and he's like, what? Like, no, like, cause he had like made sure he's like, okay, the bed above mine is like empty, right? And this guy, McQueen, is played by Anthony Perkins, who is Norman Bates in the original Psycho.
Yeah, for all those reasons, I was sure he was the big red herring, right? Because he's just like way too obvious as the killer. But I'm also like, oh, but he's so suspect. Like he's obviously there's something he's hiding, and I think that's what the movie does a really good job of, or the story rather. Just like, you are constantly thinking it, like you're constantly suspecting everyone, but they give you enough to believe that, oh, well, there could be something else they're covering up from that is actually unrelated to the murder, but is still tied into the like overall events here. And I think that's really interesting.
I think the first person I thought who it was, like, because I had to have like enough evidence, right, in my mind. And right off the bat, it's like it's hard to be like, oh, I immediately think this is the person who killed him. I thought it was the princess. Like that was the person who, when they walk in, I'm like, all right, he's going to reveal how it was her, right? Because the initial of N for Natalia, along with, oh, she's her godmother. Like, come on, you know?
Right. Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines like later on as we went along, I was trying to piece together the clues more. But at the beginning, I was just more like, okay, this is the tropes I know from this type of story, and this is a 50-year-old movie, so can I predict it just based on the tropes? And I think based on the tropes, it would have been Pierre, right? Because like, and then McQueen is like the red herring that's so obvious, but really it was, you know, it was the butler all along or whatever. We get another really fun long shot right after this of just walking along the side of the train as it's about to take off, and we like go along the entire length of it, and then we see the train take off down the tunnel, and like this is when the music's starting to kick in more.
And the train whistle sounds like a woman screaming.
Yes, I noticed this the first time I heard it, but then the second time was when it really clicked for me. Like, oh, that's very purposeful. It's like it's supposed to be the little girl screaming, and I think it actually is in the editing.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Very, very freaky.
Yeah, really freaky. I love it.
And then we get a lot more sort of like building of the characters. This is a very sort of like ensemble thing, which is I think a factor very much in whodunit movies. Like this is like such a necessary part of it. You need the very distinct and like very like, you know, not only are they distinct, but like easy to remember, right? All these like different people, and you want to build them up and show like their sort of like mannerisms.
Yeah.
And that's what like the setup part of it before we get to the murder is usually about in a lot of these movies. Is you want to really like set the table for like who everyone is. And I think this is a good sort of way of doing it. A fun idea is to, you know, show a lot of the people sort of like dining. We also get introduced like a lot more of like Ratchet in this, where he's like collecting, like talking about pottery bowls and beakers from the 13th century. And this is really wild that this dude who we know to be revealed to be some sort of mobster, Cassetti, is like, he orchestrates the kidnapping and murder of a little girl to get paid, then escapes to Europe and begins his life of traveling and collecting ancient artifacts. Like, this is so wild.
I take it is just another job. Like he's trading and facilitating ancient artifacts, and like
I think there's easier ways to make money in the world, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Much easier ways. It's just such a wild. Just feels like it. I'm saying this, but I think it's fun because it's like, again, it's like the genre. It's like this sort of like mystery, these larger than life characters. Again, you want to make them memorable. The same thing I'm complaining about is the thing I'm saying that you should do. And I'm only complaining about it because I would like think it's just kind of silly to think about it like fully in context, like that guy's sort of trajectory. He also feels very waspy to me. Like does not feel like Italian at all. I would like, but you know, hey.
I thought he was like an American mobster, but like with ancestry from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he did. Yeah, I still feel like he didn't really read to me as like Italian.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. People make all sorts of money in weird ways. I agree with you. It's a very strange, or it could just be some random side. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. And just like, I mean, the whole, like you were saying, there's got to be an easier way to make money. I also find myself thinking there's got to be an easier way to kill a man than this whole operation.
Absolutely. I definitely thought that at the end. I was like, this is insane. This is an insane and the way it all ends is fucking wild. Like I totally agree. Like I think this I imagine reading the book would be very fun. And watching the movie was very fun, but it's definitely like something where I'm like, wow, that was really fucking like that's really dumb. Like that's really fun, but that's also kind of dumb.
Yeah. Which spoilers for the conversation, but I had a similar thought of that movie last week. So it's funny, or 2 weeks ago. So it's funny that we have like these parallels between these two movies that came out the same year. They're so different, and yet there are like some similarities between them, where this one is definitely more far-fetched, but there's also a very far-fetched murder scheme in that one.
I think they both leave things amorphous, but again, I will really ride or die for the subjectivity of the conversation, where it is like from Harry Call's perspective, and lots of things are that you're shown, like you should question whether or not that is reality. I think that is like the like lived, experienced aspect of paranoia. I think, and that's why I think that film is so effective, and that's why I gave it an S tier.
Hell yeah!
This movie's getting an S tier as well, dude, because it's fucking with you so hard. S tier for smoking. Or steam engine.
Oh, it's steaming.
It's a choo-choo movie.
It's a big
We should have done choo-choo movies.
Well, there might be more choo-choo movies in the future.
There's movies in motion.
Yeah.
But choo-choo movie just as a category is fun, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, and like you were saying, part of me while watching it is like, oh, it would have been fun just to do a full month of just like whodunit. Yeah, that would have been fun too. But
welcome to Whodunit month.
But this is a really interesting way we've done it, so it'll be cool to talk about.
It will be very fun to talk about, especially contrasting. Like I said, it's gonna be two movies that I feel like 2 versus 2 in a way. 2 versus 2.
Totally. And I do think they will share a lot of similarities, because the core of whodunit still applies to the more monster movie type formula that we're covering.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to eating on the train. Poirot's super happy about how good the food is, and it made me happy that he was happy after he had complained,
Yeah.
I also saw a note while I was reading about, very quickly, that his stomach, I guess, is like a big thing throughout the books. Like he has a very sensitive stomach.
That's cute.
Also, being on Southpaw watched, I noticed Anthony Perkins is left-handed.
Oh, okay, cool. One thing I really appreciate in the cinematic language of this movie is that most of the time, if it's just kind of passing conversations, like basically this whole like sequence up to this point is mostly just kind of far away camera shots of people talking, and then once it's a really important scene that they really want you to get every detail of, they zoom in on their face. And the conversation is like these really close-up shots of them talking, which I really appreciated. Is just like, okay, this is important. Like, I need to really, like, get every word here,
Yeah. Did you catch that Hardman, when he meets Foscarelli, he says, "Call me Dick"?
No.
Dick Hardman.
I didn't. That's great.
Beddoes is great, by the way. That's another one of my favorite performances in this.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone's great in it. I
just love that, like, yes. Just, like, very proper fucking English butler guy.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, it's so funny. Because, to actually have, like, a butler in the middle of a whodunit who's just, like, such a stereotypical proper butler. Like, it really felt like this was it's the Manor murder mystery, but it's on a train.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, did the Manor murder mystery just come from this? Like, I don't know. Very curious.
Yeah, I think I just found there is a version of this movie where Alfred Molina plays Hercule Poirot.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
fun.
TV movie.
That's fun.
It looks bad.
Oh, that's too bad.
But we'll check it out. Don't worry. For
Oh, yeah.
content, we'll
Oh, yeah.
absolutely check it out.
And Ratchet soon pitches Poirot here to get involved in his case because he says someone's trying to murder me.
He offers him $5,000, $10,000, $15,000.
Yeah, and when he asks him what he does for a living, he says baby food.
Yeah.
Just really weird.
Yeah, and well, he says he's retired.
Yeah.
And he says, from what? From business. What business? Baby food.
Weird.
He also shows him the gun that he sleeps with.
Yeah.
He points it at him, which is fucked.
Yeah.
I was like, the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Yeah. He says my interest in your case is dwindling. When he walks away from him, which felt
I do
pretty
love
fitting.
that he flexes on him and he's like, I'm rich enough that I get to pick what case I want. I don't need to make money. And I was like, damn, Hercule, flexing on him.
Yeah. This is a man who says what he thinks and thinks what he says.
Then there's the fun, like, them going through the dark tunnel. Suddenly, Ratchet is gone.
Yeah, this is where I wrote the screaming. Because I heard it the first time, but it was very confirmed here. Like, that is definitely someone screaming when the train's going through the tunnel. But yeah, another classic cinema, like, murder mystery thing. The train going into the dark tunnel, and then everything's changed when they get to the other side. Like, I love that.
Yeah, and then they're gonna pull into the Belgrade station. It's already been set up that Ratchet wants McQueen to send a telegram when they get there.
Yeah.
And that feels important. Like, it feels like it's like the story's telling you, like, this is a big deal. And later on, it's like not really a big deal. It's one of those, like, you know, early red herrings where you're like, oh, this is important. I got to pay attention to this.
Right. This is basically when the murder happens because we get Poirot kind of doing his skin routine, which I think he like lotions up his hands, then he puts gloves on it.
So also we should add, they move him to a room. What they do is Bianchi says, I'm going to go into the Pullman where there's only this one Greek doctor. And I was like, the way they said that, I know this guy is going to be important later on. That Greek doctor. Oh, fuck. I love that guy. That guy's great. But anyway, so he gets Bianchi's personal compartment.
Yeah.
And he asks for some towels from Pierre.
Yeah.
And then he wants a rundown of his neighbors. And so he is in compartment 9. Mr. Ratchet is in 10. Then he's got Olsen and Debenham in 7. Debenham? I don't know. Debenham? I don't fucking care. 7 and 8. And then Hubbard in 11. And he makes a joke about how that's still too close. Ha 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 ha. And so we get the sort of like setup of like the geography of it. This is fun too. I love the choo-choo architecture because it's like a straight line and it's so easy for you to be like, I'm so smart. Like, I got this so on lock. I know where everyone is. I can picture it in my mind so easily.
Yeah, I mean, what a great setup for a murder mystery where you have everyone sleeping side by side, people moving around the cart, and like every little detail is important because you can see every little detail. Everything's laid bare in front of you, which is why this is a terrible place to do a murder. Because like, oh, I wonder who it was on this small trapped transport.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I also, it's like a very claustrophobic shot in the like train hallway, which I thought was a really good sort of like, you know, like getting that sort of anxiety going for like something fucked up is about to happen.
Yeah. And there's kind of just like, there's a lot of good cinematography language here in terms of just like there's a lot of cuts here. It's going back and forth between the train moving, people moving around the train, Poirot like doing his skin routine or whatever, and then you have coal getting shoveled into the furnace, like to signify that, oh shit, it's getting hot.
Yeah, ratcheting it up.
Yes, exactly.
Jeffrey Unsworth, by the way, is the cinematographer here. Also, dude, he's wearing a hairnet and a little mustache cover.
Yeah.
He looks insane. He's so fucking silly.
I didn't know what the mustache thing was. I was like, I thought it was he was just putting it there until he put it over his eyes, but I guess it was for his mustache.
No. It's I think because like he waxes his mustache, like he has to sleep with that to cover it. But I figured he would just like re-wax it every morning. But I guess maybe wax was expensive.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Interesting. He wakes up under heavy blue light. And this is where he hears the moaning next door, and he comes out to see Mr. Pierre knocking.
Yeah, Pierre checks on Mr. Ratchet.
Mr. Ratchet
and then
says
we hear something kind of unintelligible
Yeah.
that sounds vaguely like French, you know?
Yeah. He had a nightmare.
And also, I wrote here a cauchemar. I wrote here it doesn't fucking sound like Ratchet.
I was confused by
Yeah.
what.
But
Yeah.
Pierre is still like, yeah, chill, okay, and he just moves on. I'm like, okay,
Right.
something's up here.
Right.
There's a mystery.
Well, that's
afoot.
the thing. Like, because I suspect Pierre.
Also, we
but
forgot.
there's so many people to suspect doing so many sus things.
Before this, when he's doing his thing, we also get Beddoes delivering the sedative.
Yeah.
And then the request for McQueen to come and show Ratchet the text of the telegram,
Yeah.
which are important factors in like determining the sort of like timeline of the murder later on.
Totally. And we also see soon here that the train is stuck. There's snow on the track. They can't get through. I love this as a metaphor for the situation. I also just love when people are trapped in situations and like.
Yeah, it's one of our categories.
Yeah, it's a very tense situation. Cool setup. I like it. Even there's like you said, there's a lot of far-fetched things about the whole plot here, but if you just buy into it, very fun.
Yeah. I mean, you take the ticket, you buy the ticket, take the ride. You know, like ride the fucking choo-choo with me. But like when you sit down to talk about it, like with a microphone in front of your face, it is very natural to kind of be like, this is an insane movie. This is like 15 crazy people on a train together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we pretty quickly find out here Mr. Ratchet's dead.
Well, I like there's some more of the stuff because we do see Poirot overhearing Mrs. Hubbard saying, "There's a man hiding in my room," right? Like, and I was like, "Who is the?" And she says that he smelled like tobacco or something like that. Yeah. I think she says that later on, maybe not here, but then we get the knock on Poirot's door, or there's a knock, and then he checks and opens it, and we see a woman running down the hallway wearing this like white robe. And then he goes back and he's so annoyed the whole time because it's like
everyone keeps waking him up.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, it is so many like things where you're like, okay, what's going on here? Like the movie is like throwing a bunch of shit at me all at once. Like where is this going? And I love how much of it goes nowhere, really.
Well, everything happens for a reason, basically. But it's
but the reasons ultimately being like they're just like they're
a lot of it is trying to just throw you off the trail.
Well, because you're like, okay, whoa, like who is this lady? What's she doing, right? And then it's like later on they're like, yeah, we just had a lady run by to like confuse things.
Yeah, and then they have their clothes in the luggage being moved around and the button being left in the shattered watch. The shattered watch is pretty good. I like that.
I like how quickly the shattered watch is like, yeah, no, come on, this is a fucking trope. I know this one, dude. Don't fuck with me, dude. Come on, this is so specific.
Yeah, it is very convoluted for sure. But it's fun.
No, yeah, it is. It is fun, especially the actors. They're all so many fucking great actors. But yeah, and then Beddoes is like, "You'll pick me up," and that's where, oh no, Ratchet is dead. You know,
poisoned and stabbed 12 times.
Well, I love how long it takes to realize he got stabbed.
Yeah, that is a comedy bit, right? Because it's just like blood out of his mouth, and they're like, "I wonder what killed him," and then they pull the blanket up.
Well, like they're like, "Oh, he's like," because. It doesn't even happen in this scene. Like,
you're right.
So like they discover him dead. He's like, Poirot's like, don't touch anything, and he's like, Pierre, go get Bianchi and the Greek doctor, Mr. Constantine. And then you see that Bianchi is talking to everyone, dealing with the snowdrift situation, and he establishes they're in Yugoslavia, country that no longer exists, by the way. Pretty
Yes,
wild.
sir. Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Now it's several different countries.
Yeah.
So he established we're in Yugoslavia, and he talks about how long it's gonna take to get going again. Everyone is like fucking pissed off about it, and then he's summoned by Pierre, and they bring Dr. Constantine, and this is the whole comedic bit of like where he's like, oh, Ratchet was drugged. He's like, and I love how like Poirot is like, don't touch anything, so he like smells the air, and he's like, oh, I can smell the valerian. Which would be harmless, and then he's like, okay, but why did he bleed so much? And, then and he got stabbed 12 fucking times.
Yeah.
And then the
I like
watch
that too.
establishes for us a murder time of between midnight and 2 a.m.
Yeah, I love this setup. Just very. I think this is when I really started, because now the murder mystery is on in full, right? So this is really where I started taking a bunch of notes down. We have the death between midnight and 2. There's a lot of good tension with the murder. The murderer is with us now, is what they believe.
Yeah, for sure. I also love Bianchi begging Poirot, right? Like he has to ask him, and Poirot's like, no, we should just let the cops deal with it. And he's like, come on, man, please. And then he's like, okay, I'll do it for you. And there's another great bit of comedy is like, as he's asking, he like turns on the door, like he like moves the door, and like hiding behind the door is Dr. Constantine, like looking at him. And it's just like, I feel like the sort of like thing is like Dr. Constantine wants to be a part of this investigation. Like he seems very enthusiastic to help like Poirot.
Like, he's such a funny character.
He's got like a little team. I like that he's got like the doctor and Bianchi, especially with all the interrogations later on.
It's fun.
It's really fun, like how after every single one, it's like, oh, they did it,
Yeah. This is when I think we have the Manning compartment in her compartment who smelled of tobacco. I think there's so much dialogue and information here. I think I was just like started just taking like more investigative notes than like notes on the film a lot of the time, where I have like his assistant McQueen says that like he's getting interviewed here, and he says that Hatchet left America to escape someone. So now we're starting to peel back the layers of like,
for sure,
why is this happening? Who
I do
is
want to say
Hatchet?
with Mrs. Hubbard, there's the whole thing of like she didn't see him, but she knows it was a man.
Yeah,
And they're like, how do you know it's a man? It's like, she's being like sexy about it. She's been kind of horny about it.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention also earlier, there's a scene where Bianchi and Poirot are super horny about like the Hungarian diplomats. Like they say something so weird, but anyway.
Yeah, there's so many lines like that, like throwaway, just like character building stuff. I didn't get it all down. There's just too much.
But it was very funny just to like see them two old guys getting horny together.
They also throw out here, so this is a like lovely wrench in a story like this, where because of the like deepness of the stab wounds, they're discussing the possibility of 2 killers.
Yeah, for sure.
A man and a woman, perhaps.
Yeah, and before the interrogation with McQueen, Poirot does request the hat box.
Is that here? Because I have.
He
maybe
wants a hat
it's
box.
before the.
He asked to interrogate. He's gonna interrogate McQueen, but before that, he asked for the hat box. Perhaps one like the princess's maid has. And then the actual interrogation with McQueen starts, where he talks about how he's been. I mean, it's not his like
proper. It's more just
because they do. It's just a quick like get to know, because they talk to him again later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they ask him about being his secretary and how they met, and there's all this background about how they know each other, and that he was filed for bankruptcy, declared bankruptcy because he was really bad at working in like the oil business or some shit.
Yeah, and he was also trying to get into artifacts and failing, and that's when he was given a job.
No, I think it was that he was just that he met this guy in Persia. This background story is he met this guy in Persia. Ratchet is collecting Gurgan pottery, and McQueen is working in the like oil business
Okay.
and not doing well. And then Ratchet knew him and was like, "You're down on your luck. Would you like to be my secretary?" And there's the mention here that he was hampered by not knowing any languages.
Interesting.
Very quick little commentary, which will tie back into the whole thing about him saying, in French, "I had a nightmare," and you're like, wait, there's something off here.
Yeah. Yeah. Next thing I have is the name in the fire, with the which is wild. I don't completely understand how that would work, but it's cool. I believe it would work.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's they like this is a part where they like break down the like murder scene more, and they talk about the different matches, the handkerchief. I think this is where there's the pipe cleaner that is found as well. And yeah, it's a very like I also was like, is this gonna be like a big deal, like a hard time figuring out the AZ arm thing? And I love how quickly it is like, no, it's like, and Poirot like lays it out for Bianchi, like the scene right after where he's like, it was, Daisy Armstrong was who it was. It's this guy was probably the fucking murderer. Like, and he also like, we get the thing about how like he wasn't the murderer himself. He's the person who
orchestrated
orchestrated the whole kidnapping and everything.
And this is also where we find out that like all of them died.
The 5 people, the 5 victims.
Yeah, the mother,
she gave birth to a stillborn child and then died.
The father
shot himself.
The maid also killed herself.
She jumped off like out a window.
Yeah. Who else is in this? Is that all of them? 5. And
then the little girl, Daisy.
Yeah, and then little girl. Yeah. Which is really sad. And you can tell this is
very tragic.
This is an important detail, especially at the end, where you can tell that Poirot was very familiar with this case and also was kind of emotionally attached to it. Like, he has so much anger around the details of this case, and he's constantly damning Hatchet and all that.
Yeah, it's Ratchet. Cassetti, now known as Cassetti.
Cassetti, yeah.
Because now we know he is Cassetti. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty fucking egregious. Like, it's really fucking disturbing. Like that, and it's wild to have something so real and so fucking tragic, like in something with this tone. But I love the fire that Poirot brings to it. His straight up like indignant, just he like fucking obviously hates this guy, which again sets up the way that everything is gonna kind of end. And like I think fucking Bianchi says even at this point when he lays the whole thing, he's like, oh man, well like it deserved to end then. Like yeah, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
But they're like, we're still gonna figure it out,
Hell yeah, they are.
It'd be funny if it just ended there. Oh well, he sucked. Whatever.
I mean, it's basically you could have ended the movie there to a certain extent, in terms of consequences. I like as silly as the movie is. I like how much emotional reverence they give for the actual horror of what happened and the emotions the victims have around what happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of juggling that's happening, but I think most of it is like pretty effective, like in the, like tone wise. Like I think, I think the characters are compelling for sure. I'm attached to them. I think they're fun. Like I want I'm rooting for the Colonel and like Debenham.
I really like Pierre's slow reveal of he's really good.
Pierre's so good too. And that was something I noticed too. I remember when he shows the picture to Hardman and he goes, Paulette Michelle. I was like, that's Pierre's last name, dude.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's great.
Dude. Yeah.
That's great.
I felt like a smart guy.
Good job.
But yeah, so then this is when the actual interrogations begin in earnest. And this is like a big chunk of the movie.
Yeah, and I was suspecting Pierre until this scene where he's the first one interrogated, and then we get the running trope of Bianchi being like, he did it. Everyone did it, and it was like,
very fun.
Well, he wouldn't be the first one they accuse of doing it if he did it. Dang it must not be Pierre.
Yeah, I also like and we get his little background. His wife died of grief after the death of their only daughter.
I think he says scarlet fever.
Yes, scarlet fever is what they say.
Yeah.
And then he gets asked about what happened at night, and he says that he saw the English colonel leave McQueen's at 1:30.
Mm-hmm.
Says he saw a woman go into the bathroom, and there's a reference to the lady in the white robe with is it like a dragon on the back? I think he calls it a kimono later on.
Yeah.
And then he says 12:30 is when he answered Ratchet's bell, was only a nightmare. And then he says he was summoned by the princess and her to go get her maid after that.
Right.
Many of these details becoming unimportant later on,
Yeah. We get the interview with McQueen.
I did want to say, I do like how Constantine is he has no fucking motive, because I think, oh no, Bianchi and Constantine both say, Pierre could have totally done it, dude. And Poirot says he has no motive.
Yeah. Yeah. And McQueen was the one we already saw getting abused by Cassetti earlier. Not really abused, but just kind of talked down to.
Yeah, he's really dressing him down. Yeah.
Yeah, he's basically talking about how he's kind of tired. He's like, well, why don't you go sleep then? Don't even finish your breakfast. Go eat or go sleep. And he's like, okay, asshole. So he's clearly the most obvious, and he's the most nervous. He's the worst poker face
for sure.
But then they kind of give him the benefit of the doubt because he admired the gentle mother that he.
Yeah. So what comes out is that his father's a big time lawyer who helped the Armstrongs with this whole ransom thing, and so he meets Mrs. Armstrong, and I guess he has an interest in the theater, and Mrs. Armstrong, her mother having been an actor, and I think her just having connections. Offers to sort of help him, and he sees her as a mother figure, and they're like, well, wow, he really has big motivation now, but then they do let him go, and they're like, no, he was so gentle, the psychology. Somebody says the psychology is wrong.
Yeah, it was because he was appreciating how heartbroken the mother was after her daughter died, I believe. And then they're like, would a killer who's so compassionate about the mother really be capable of killing, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, they say, it's also because he says that he basically is saying how he sees her as a surrogate mother for him.
Right.
And yeah, they're just no, he's too soft to do it, basically, is what they say. McQueen asks Poirot, he's like, how did you figure out who Ratchet was? Yeah. And he says, with a hat box. I love those little lines where he's somebody asks him a question, and he's basically just big wink to the audience. He's like, you guys know how we did it. And then and this is where I think Constantine says he's a godmother to him. And Poirot's like, oh shit, you struck on something, my friend. And it comes back later on. I love that too. A little a little eureka moment for the detective.
Totally. We get the butler interrogation. I didn't have much from that other than I when he's in bed reading, and he's you're reading some romance novel or some dirty novel or something. And he's like, it's 10:30. He says,
is it about sex? It's about 10:30. And yeah, he didn't go to bed until 4 because he has a toothache is set up, right?
Yeah.
We also get the thing about he says that Foscarelli, he learned his English in a place called Chicago. And also the setup that he used to be a soldier.
Yeah.
Was in private service.
Yep. I love that when he walks away, immediately they're like, the butler did it, and he's still he's 5 feet away, and he just turns around and rolls his eyes at them and walks away.
Good. This is the one where Bianchi thinks, but Constantine is doubtful.
Yeah.
And then we see that someone is coming on the tracks to clear the tracks.
Yeah.
And Bianchi's kind of freaking out. He's like, we need to figure this shit out.
Right.
Because he wants it to go very smoothly. He wants to be able to hand over a very an explanation so that they're not, because he thinks they're going to be further delayed if the police have to do an investigation. But if Poirot can execute an investigation, they can hand over an answer and they can just be on their way,
Right. Right. Very pragmatic man.
Yeah, and then Mrs. Hubbard is the next one here.
Yep.
And I love how he asks her to keep her answers brief.
Yeah, he's just like sets up all these rules for her, like yes and no whenever possible. Like,
And immediately she just starts talking so much. I fucking love it so great because she just starts blabbing, and then he's like, whatever. And then she's like, but I have a clue, actually.
yeah,
And
she
he's
keeps
like,
doing this the whole movie.
Yeah,
like,
I love it.
They really don't want her to be relevant, and she keeps making herself relevant,
Yeah.
which is confusing since she's kind of orchestrating everything.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think she's like, yeah, because she's like a master, like the mastermind.
She's trying to throw
like
him off the
misdirect,
trail. Yeah.
right? And this is where she reveals that she found the button
Right.
that was sitting on top of her magazine, and it belongs to a conductor's tunic. And like, So they send to go see if it's Pierre's missing button. Also, Poirot checks to see if Mrs. Hubbard, the H on the handkerchief, if it belongs to her. Says it does not belong
Great
to her.
running little bit of
Yeah.
him keep trying to hand off the
Figure out,
handkerchief.
also just trying to figure out H's in anyone's name.
Yeah.
And then the way he's like, oh, you dropped this. It's like,
Yeah.
nope, that's not mine. Pierre isn't missing any buttons.
Nope.
Bum bum bum.
Yeah, and so that's just their attempt to make it seem like it was someone who dressed up as someone on the crew, ditched the outfit, and left the train. Is that basically what they're going for with the whole suit setup here?
Yeah, the first simpler answer.
Right. Yeah, this is where we get what's her name?
Miss Olsen.
Yeah, she's great.
Ingrid Bergman.
She just wants to look after some brown babies.
Yeah, she's wild. Yes, she's a Swedish missionary to Africa. And she says the name of a place that will later be verified to be in India, not Africa.
Right.
Part of the undoing of her sort of like background story, I guess. But yeah, this is very funny. Like, she's pretty fucking silly, dude. Like, and her talking like
I was glad to find out that she was purposefully
doing a
bad foreign accent,
like an elevated like Swedish thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that, and just that like how fluent she was in English, and then every time she like pretended she was struggling, it felt very unnatural that
Yeah.
she'd be struggling over those parts.
It was a good portrayal of that. Like,
Yeah.
I think she killed
Well,
it. with
yeah,
that.
I mean, now that it's like zoomed out, I'm like, oh, okay, so that was her being a great actor acting badly.
Yeah, and she gives some background on Debenham, where she teaches English shorthand in Baghdad to foreign children because they're sharing a compartment together. She says that neither of them left their room at all night, and she's going on this trip apparently to collect some money
Right.
to further like fund her missionary work.
And it's a great example of what I was talking about, where they're throwing you off the trail while still giving you more suspicions, and like maybe it was her of her protecting her next door neighbor, right? And being like, oh no, she was a great woman. I know she never left her apartment. How would you possibly know that? Oh, I wake from any sleep. Like, she's obviously lying,
Yeah.
but you as the audience are like, well, is she lying because she did the murder, or is she just trying to protect her friend for some reason we don't understand yet, right? And so there's always that extra wrinkle that kind of wrinkles your wrinkle.
Yeah, my first read of it too was she was just kind of like a very like naive, like simple sort of woman, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is weird, like weird fucking, because I know that Ingrid Bergman is Swedish, but I also know that she is like speaks better English than the character, and I'm like, oh, she's trying to play. This is like weirdly written, but then when it's recontextualized, it's much more fun.
Yeah, interesting. Layered. Miss Grunwald and Mr. Grunwald, right?
I don't think, is that his last name?
I don't know, actually. I don't
That's
know.
not his. I think that's not his last name. I think that's
Her
Mrs.
maiden
Armstrong's
name?
father's name.
Okay, gotcha.
Father's last name. This I refer to them as the Hungarians. They're the diplomats.
Yeah,
It's a count and a countess.
right.
It's Andrenyi. And this is Michael York. I recognize this guy from other movies, but I think he's an English guy. But yeah, the Count and the Countess. This is a fun little bit, because you're
Yeah.
like, okay, there's the grease stain on the passport,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking Helena, different languages, and this is like something really I felt like that was kind of up my sort of alley. Also with the like fucking clue of the like handkerchief and the
Right.
Cyrillic thing. I was like, oh man, I love Europe as this setting of so many different languages coming into play. I wish there was a little bit more of that in this, but that's just like a personal desire because there's like an amount of it. But because like when we see Pierre first, he's greeting everyone in like their like language,
Right.
and we see that this guy's very like this is not just like he's not just like some simple like train attendant.
Which
He's,
is
like,
why I was suspecting him, because he just seemed very clever and
But I think that's also the kind of profession it was then.
Yeah.
For this sort of like service,
Totally.
you have to be like you want to be able to be accommodating in that way, and I
Right.
really love.
he just
that
quickly
sort of
came
vibe.
across as very competent to me, which usually is if he's very competent, he's probably the killer then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get much of their conversation. I enjoyed it as well. I think the ending of it, he says, "You are not accused, you are excused."
Yeah. There is the thing about the strong sedative that she takes,
Yeah.
which comes into play.
Right.
That does come into play.
Absolutely.
Smudge stain.
Is this when we get the princess?
We see, Hildegard is reading to the princess in her compartment.
Yeah.
And Bianchi brings in Poirot. And the princess reveals, like, I've read about your cases. And then Poirot's like, I've read about you. And this is the reveal about, first of all, him lifting, he says that, then he lifts the dogs off the seat and, like, hands them to Bianchi and sits down. And this is the whole thing about she was really good friends with the American actress Linda Arden. And that she is the godmother to Mrs. Armstrong.
Yep.
Sonia, I think, is her name. Sonia, I think, if I remember. Hamish and Sonia Armstrong.
I think this is around the time he tells the princess she doesn't smile often or something, and then she says, "My doctor advises against it."
Yeah, it's great. It is really good. I love that she has like this sort of obsession with beauty. And I mean, when she tells them to leave, I think when she tells them to leave, she says something about how she like insists on referring to it as her beauty sleep or something.
Right.
As this like joke. There's also the background about Sonia has a younger sister, and she Poirot's asking him all these questions about the Armstrong estate, and she's like, I don't know any of these people. I didn't need to use their driver. I didn't need their maid. I had my maid. Like, I didn't know the nurse. Like, all of these things where she's like denying knowing any of these people that she would have been around, right? And you're like, this is hella fucking sus.
Yeah.
And we also get the Mr. X where she says that Armstrong's maiden name was Greenwood, which is the English version of Grinvold. And then the secretary's name was Miss Peabody, which is like, or Freebody, which is a reference to Freebody Debenham, which because she did this weird like association for like some sort of like brand, like, or like clothing brand. And then she says that the colonel had an Indian orderly. And then the only thing she really reveals is that the maid knew Armstrong's maid. And I think it's actually Hildegard who says that her name was Paulette. But all these like, she's just obviously trying to like occult all these things. And she says that the younger daughter married a Turk too. Like all these things that are like slightly true but like off,
Yeah.
Well, none of them are slightly true. They're all off. They're all just like blatant lies.
Yeah. Well, her, and it's pointed out pretty blatantly later, but her just like her selective memory on which names she remembers and doesn't is a pretty like, that's interesting.
Yeah,
like,
it's also funny how they're all like, well, so like the Greenwood answer and then the like Freebody are like really fucking funny, like sort of like they're great setups for Poirot to be like, well, see, what I realize is like this is the translation, and what I saw here is you made some sort of funny little association here, but I figured it out,
Totally.
Because this is really what unlocks it all for him.
Yeah.
Because like he says, Pierre has no motive, right? And he doesn't really see like who has a connection to Armstrong until these little things like
all
come
these
out.
little the little thread, the right thread is pulled and it all comes unraveling. So he's trying to see a photo of her sister, right? And so she takes her to her luggage.
She wants to. He asked her if she has a picture of Paulette,
Right.
who is
The-
Pierre's daughter,
Right.
who is the Armstrong's maid.
Exactly, yeah. And this is when they find the clothes in her luggage, which is confusing because it's like, so did they know he was gonna look through her luggage, or like what are they setting up here? I'm not exactly sure why the clothes is in here, but
There's the passkey in the pocket, but it's too stout to be Pierre. I love that as an excuse. Not it's too small, it's too big. Because like anybody can wear clothes that are too big for them, but
yeah,
but it's like, oh, this can't be Pierre's, but it is missing a button.
yep. And he gets the picture, which will be important.
And he also tries to offer her the handkerchief. She says, "No, it's not mine." And this is when you realize it is revealed that her name is Natalia.
Yeah,
You know?
good little detail.
And this is where I was like, Russian name.
Yeah,
They
that's-
even said she has a Russian name. And I was like, boom,
love that.
solved the case.
Love that.
Fracule Poirot is on the friggin' case, brother.
And then so he runs back to his luggage here, I believe. Is that where he finds the
The women's
kimono?
bedclothes, yeah.
Yeah.
He laughs maniacally when he finds it too. I
Yeah.
think I had the captions on and it said maniacal laugh.
Yeah, and so is that him just laughing that they're trying so hard to throw him off, or like the madness of the situation?
Has it fully clicked for him yet?
Yeah.
Is my question.
Yeah.
Or is he just like, oh, clues upon clues? Like, you know, that's what I took it at.
I took it as just like the absurdity of this situation that he finds amusing. And I also wrote here that he's having way too much fun.
Yeah, I don't
He's like singing songs.
I don't
and,
think
like,
he's unlocked it yet. I don't think he's fully figured it out. Because I think a lot of his chat with the Colonel helps, like,
Right.
figure stuff out for him.
Right. Oh yeah, he meets with the Colonel next. That's right.
Yeah. And there, like, there's a lot of sort of like, why are you traveling this way? Like when usually you would be traveling over water and all this sort of like
And his pipe cleaner.
the pipe cleaner. Yes.
Well, he's the only one who smokes a peep. They
A
keep calling it a
yeah,
peep.
they keep calling it a peep, which is really fucking funny. And there's also like this part where Poirot yells at the Colonel because the Colonel is like, no, I didn't know Armstrong personally, but like, man, that's so fucked up. He like killed himself because he like had won all these like sort of like awards.
Yeah.
Which is important later on.
Yeah.
Because Poirot points out like, wow, you're very like intimately knowledgeable about his like awards, but you didn't know him. And like Poirot yells at him, he's like, "No, you don't understand how tragic that was. What happened to him?" Like,
Yeah, this happens a couple times.
basically justifying him, like, you know, like killing himself. Which I don't want to go one way or another, but it just felt so like kind of like I was like, I almost wanted to back up and be like, did the Colonel really disrespect like the other Colonel that much? Like with what he was saying?
I think he said he took the coward's way out.
Oh, that's what he says. Yeah. That's not nice. Not nice. But then we get Miss Debenham showing up, and it's very clear there's a connection here because he wants to stay, and then she like winks at him as like she walks by him, and immediately Poirot sits her down in the separate room and is like, "You and the Colonel are in love. You fell in love in Baghdad," and we get the flashback to Poirot overhearing them on the ferry talking about like, when it's all over, let's leave this behind us. All of this building ultimately to like the Colonel storming in and being like, yeah, I'm getting a divorce and I'm going to marry her once I'm divorced. But like, I don't want to give my wife any
He punches out
ammunition."
Pierre.
He does. Yeah. He punches.
First he picks him up and
Yeah.
he puts him on the other
Yeah.
side and then
And
socks
then
him.
later on, he like laughs at it. He's like, yeah, I really kind of gave it to him.
Yeah, I was like, holy crap, man.
Yeah. It was pretty well. Also, fucking just Sean Connery so casually in this movie.
I know. I love Sean Connery, man. He's so good. Yeah. His wife was cheating on him. Basically, again, this is what I was kind of talking about earlier, where there's enough clues where you're like, how much of this is tied into the larger thing? How much of it is a red herring here? Here it seems they're playing it off like, oh, it's a red herring because obviously they are hiding something because they don't want their affair to come out before the divorce is settled, or else his wife will have a better claim.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Harriet comes up with a dagger. It just like shaking in the window, the bloody dagger.
Ms. Hubbard, well, right before that is they start interrogating Foscarelli, and he's talking about how he's a naturalized American citizen for 7 years. And if you think about how the murder happened 5 years ago, kind of tracks that he was there. He sells cars, and he asks him if he knows Cassetti, the guy, right? If he knew him, and he's like, no, but he thinks he was like he says he was a mafioso, probably killed by another mafioso, and he says something about like, guns and knives, and then cut to Miss Hubbard in the window with the bloody knife.
So weird.
This is a little tiny knife too.
Yeah.
She found it in her makeup bag, and then he's like, and then he asked her some sort of question.
He asked her, why didn't you find it when you put your stuff? If you had put all your things in there, why didn't you find it before? And she's like, well, I put something else in there, which also was a weird line for me.
Yeah,
because you already put everything else in there.
That's the bag that she emptied.
But why else do you need to lie about this?
Because there's something. She empties it on like a table earlier, right?
No, this is when she empties it. Or, no, yeah, you're right, because she empties it out to get the button.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did think that was like kind of cool how there's this like sort of like logical track of it, but I was a little bit like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it just shows that this is a terrible plan, because if you're trying to go with that some murderer snuck on the train, planted this evidence, and then left, then why are they still on the train planting evidence? Like, yeah, she's not super. This whole plan's bad. Everyone's kind of dumb except Poirot.
Yeah, and Dr. Constantine, I love Dr.
Yeah, he's
Constantine.
great. Yeah,
he's a sweet guy. Then this is also like Poirot's like, okay, Ms. Hubbard, go tell them to set up the whole dining car and everything, because it's gonna be time for the big reveal. Then he quickly just asks Foscarelli if Beddoes left the compartment. No, he didn't, because he had the toothache. Has he ever been in private service? And there is like this sort of like very specific, like just one shot of Foscarelli, and he's like, no. And there's like this thing where you're like, whoa, that's weird, right? Like that feels a little weird. And then they corroborate the little weapon. This definitely could be the knife that was used.
Yep.
And then I think it's the last interrogation, and that one's the one with
the bodyguard.
Cyrus B. Hardman. Well, they're like, you're a theatrical agent. He's like, no. He immediately, I love how there's these things too, where there's the like, oh, okay, I was lying before. Let me be honest now so you can trust me.
Yeah.
Things which I always feel like are kind of fun. Like we got a little bit of that with the Colonel and his wife thing, right?
Yeah. How embarrassing though. You're hired to be a bodyguard and then they're assassinated and you're not even in the movie.
He's like, I was sent by the Pinkertons because Ratchet requested a bodyguard. And then he shows him the picture, and that's when Hardman says, Paulette Michelle. And then he's like, and he says something like, no use, like, he's basically like, the jig is up.
Yeah.
I feel like he says.
Yeah.
And then everyone files in for the big reveal.
I was so excited to see this because this is again the classic trope of
this
like,
is the best part.
Everyone
of these
gather,
movies.
gather around. I'm gonna piece together everything for you.
These movies, I think that's an aspect of it too. It all needs to build up to this like big sort of reveal, this big moment. Like I want every little detail, whether important or not, to
make sense, fit it in the puzzle.
To be a building block,
Yeah.
like that slowly builds like the fucking beautiful like amphitheater in which we will all sit around and watch the fucking detective break it down piece by piece.
Yeah, I love how they're all just set up too in such a great frame of them all just circling the cart of the train. Like it's such a good visual.
It's a big like U of them.
Yeah, it's perfect angle, perfect. What do you call that frame? What do you call that when it's just the way you move through the scene?
The movement through the scene and where people are standing is called blocking.
Blocking, yeah, it's perfect blocking. Like,
Yeah.
you couldn't have set up better blocking. For
It's
a scene
great
like
blocking
this.
and great framing. Like really good composition meets really good blocking.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about just like the whole way he sets up this whole scene here is the question is not how, but why. That will tell us why, or tell us how. Yeah.
He also sets all the clues out in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And we at first get the very simple answer.
Right. Yeah.
Which is the man who has some sort of like someone broke in, like dressed as like a conductor, stole a passkey, broke in and fucking stabbed fucking Cassetti 12 times, and then fucking once the train was stopped, he just pieced out.
Yeah, and also very like he put so much work into putting all of his like pieces everywhere and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it's very far fetched if you go that angle. But both angles are really far fetched, I guess so.
Yeah, he says it's the simpler one because it's just like what things are kind of like pointing to, you know, or like just like the it's like what is most easily like packageable. Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, but everybody, let me cook for a second, because there's maybe a more complex one.
Yeah, I love that setup too, because there's a long pause after he gives the simple answer too, and then who is it is just like, that's it? Like, okay, and you as the audience are like, that's it? And then he goes into he's like, no. Now let's get into the fun stuff.
Like, yeah, the stew is simmering.
Yeah.
Let me get some spices in there.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And he basically goes through and gives us like the reveals, like, you know, starting with McQueen knowing Armstrong, which is like a very obvious one.
Yeah.
How the princess was very evasive. He does the whole Greenwood is Grunwald, you know. And then we get the reveal.
The Russian N is a capital H.
No, I was gonna say first it's that the Countess is
the godmother.
No, the princess is the godmother. The Countess is the younger sister.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then yes, we get the Cyrillic HN thing, and we're like, okay, it's the princesses. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe like the princess, did it and was. There was this like moment where it didn't click, and I'm like, damn, they're all on this train. Like, no, like they're but just them, right? Once it's more people, it's like, oh, okay, no, it's not a coincidence.
I think it was a little bit before this started happening was the first time I suspected it was everyone. I think like I can't remember which piece of evidence it was, but at a certain point it's like, how could there be this many people related to each other on the train unless they're all, like, there's at a certain point it's too many coincidences, you know?
Right. Well, you only before they go into this, you only know two people are related to the Armstrong. And that just also it is like weird how you like it's like I think the way the movie's set up, you're supposed to feel like, oh, it's this big like cultural event, like the Lindenberg baby or whatever, or like Lindbergh, not Lindenberg is cheese. Like it's this big like cultural event that really like affected everyone.
Yeah.
But it's still wild that two people were close.
Yeah.
With her like immediately, right?
Yeah. For sure. And one thing I really love about this whole sequence here too, very small detail, they didn't have to do this, but I thought it was really cool, is that every time they go to the flashbacks of the previous conversations, it's a different camera angle than the camera angle we got, and it's like Dutch angles that are like off center, or like, you know, like when we get I forget the Norman Bates's McQueen's character, it's like the camera is just like looking right down at his face from a really uncomfortable angle.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. The thing I also like, another like little language thing is how they point out that Miss Debenham had spent time in the US, is that she said, I can always call my lawyers long distance, and that's like the American way of saying it.
Yeah.
She would have said solicitors. And this is the point where I'm like, oh shit, 12 jurors, right? That was the point.
Great.
That's the point where it really clicked for me, and I'm like, is it all of them?
Yeah, I love this whole
setup. And did they each
here.
stab him once? And that's why the stab wounds are different? And that is exactly what he's proposing.
It's such a creepy, cultish, like cool, ritualistic murder that I really like here. Yeah, there's 12 in a jury, 12 passengers, 12 notes, 12 stab wounds.
No, the notes was that they each had 12 letters.
Oh, Oh, that's even more specific. Wow.
Yeah, no, it was wild. I paused and counted the letters real quick.
Wild. Yeah, this is very creepy, but cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and we get the thing about how Hardman fell in love with Paulette Michel, who is Pierre's daughter, who didn't die of scarlet fever.
Yeah.
She instead threw herself out the window after being implied that she was involved in the kidnapping of Daisy.
I love Pierre's probably the most human response. Or I don't know, something about his like the way he responds to hearing about or like when he's confronted with it being his daughter and he's handed the photo. That to me like was the most sympathetic moment for all of these killers.
Yeah, the actor Jean-Pierre Cassel, like he really fucking kills it. Like,
he does.
He is the most like where I don't think he does very many like comedic things at all, and I just felt like he felt so like powerful. Like there was so much emotion behind his performance.
Yeah, I guess he felt like one of the most grounded characters in a lot of ways. Everyone was more larger than life, and
also
he was kind of
so
like,
tragic.
Yeah.
So tragic, you know, because is also like I think when it fucking clicks that like also I love the like so the reveals of who everyone is. Like Olsen used to like watch Daisy, and then Beddoes was the colonel's attendant, and I love the pointing out that he would have because he was part of the and this is something you realize through the interviewing the colonel is that he would have had a British attendant, not like an Indian one.
Yeah.
And Foscarelli was the chauffeur. And the big fucking reveal, Harriet Hubbard is fucking Linda Arden. I love that. It's so good. And it makes so much sense because it's Lauren Bacall, like huge American like actor. And it was just so good. And the way the camera looks at her and the way she's looking at the camera, it's just like, wow, that's sick. I love that. Did not see that coming. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, me too. Is this where he has? I wrote this line down because it was so funny. Where he's identifying the woman in the kimono, and he says, "I have an eye for the figure of a receding lady," or something like that.
Yeah. Horny.
Very horny, but
Horny
really funny.
Guy.
And then he goes into the reconstruction of the murder.
We
night,
get the whole
which,
evening.
As soon as he said that, I was like, yes, this is what I want. And then he also calls it the night of red herrings, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he chugs a full glass of water, and I love that too because he just gave like a huge monologue, and they never show people needing to like collect themselves in movies and when they're doing these big monologues and stuff. But he's like, okay, give me a sec here.
Yeah, I'm about to cook.
Yeah, that's good.
It was great.
And we realized that Hubbard organized. She was like the ringleader.
The whole like shot of the like them going in and stabbing and like it's all in like the blue light.
Yeah.
It was
everyone has their own line.
Felt very like classic theater, you know?
Yeah.
Felt very much like I'm sitting in like the audience watching them and
that was like there's that moment, and then there's another one near the end where, and like we said earlier, that really made it feel like a stage play kind of in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Also the whole way they kill him really reminiscent of the death of Julius Caesar, where he was already
except for the heavily sedated part, or did they also do that to him?
No, they didn't sedate him, but he was already dead before they stabbed him. And then that was kind of their way of like going all in on the conspiracies. All the senators that were there stabbed him one at a time. Reminded me a lot of that. Interesting.
It was sick. It was good. I like that. It was fun. Also insane. Like so wild that they heavily sedated him so that they could each stab him once.
We get when in the reconstruction, when we see him kind of passing out from the poison, you hear the train do the screech one more time.
Yeah.
So like he's dying as you hear the little girl screaming.
That was pretty fucking funny too, the way he's like, ugh, the way he like falls asleep.
So yeah, is he not dead from the poison already? I wasn't sure.
It's not a poison. It's a
sedative. Yeah, so he's still alive.
Yeah, he's alive.
Yeah.
Like, so the first person to stab him, like,
right,
quote unquote, like, well, I guess we don't know which ones were lethal or not, but
right.
But yeah, they like he isn't dead until he's like stabbed.
Right. Yeah, we get the breaking of the watch.
Yeah, they go through everything that we've sort of laid out. Like, I don't think there's any need to like go through
step by step.
Step by step. But then it is sort of like Poirot is like, all right, Bianchi, You can pick whatever answer you want to present to the police.
But he's like, but I would go with the former. Like
He says I would go with the simpler solution.
Yeah.
He suggests choosing that, and he does choose that one. Everyone's stoked. And
I love McQueen's reaction. I just I want to rewind that scene when they finally make the decision to let him off the hook. But McQueen specifically, he turns to Poirot like so giddy and like wanting to shake his hand, and then like Poirot just like looks at him awkwardly, and then he kind of like nervously looks away, and then he kind of like stands up for a second and looks around, and then like sits back down. He's just like so uncomfortable.
All of this happening while the snowdrift is broken up, right? It's very,
the track
very
is being
symbolic,
cleared.
you know?
Yep.
And everyone does a little cheers with their wine.
Yes, this felt like a stage bow to me.
Yeah,
like this,
for sure.
This is all the actors.
I knew that's what you meant when you said it, too. I was like, he's talking about the little cheers at the end.
This feels like, this is the end of the curtain call. Everyone's giving their last bow, and then the train rolls off, and that's the end of the movie.
And the music is so happy here.
Yeah.
So happy. What a wild fucking ending. And we get the credits are all in pink text. I was like, what a choice.
Yeah, what a choice indeed. Yeah, and I was not expecting. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where the ending is like, yeah, no, that was fair. Like, I don't think I've seen like a murder mystery where like at the end the detective is like, no, yeah, you guys had a good reason. Fuck it.
Whatever, yeah, fuck it. Too much work to like arrest all 12 of you. Part of me was also like, dude, what if they just like, there's 12 of them versus the 3 other
I
dudes,
was thinking that too. Is there an angle here where this is just like self-defensive? He's like, they're gonna fucking murder me if I don't try to go for the simple answer. Yeah.
Yeah, wild movie. I'll go first. I think I'll give it I'll go to B tier.
I was also gonna do B tier. Super fun. If we're talking about context, I do feel like this is a really important movie. If as many tropes are based on this as I think.
No. I think there's even adaptations from before this.
Okay.
Like, and this also like this is based on a book. Like right. I feel like I
not cutting edge.
No. I don't think so at all. I think this is, and it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be fun. Like it's supposed to be like a nice little jaunt, right?
Right. And it was really fun. I just liked the vibe of the movie a lot. Like I liked the murder mystery aspect, but yeah, it didn't blow me away. But it was a lot of fun. And I think the ending is really interesting and like, had me thinking after where I'm like, should there be justice here? Nah, probably not, right? Like, what's your stance on what happens at the end?
I don't know, man. It's like
it's fucked up what they did, right? Like,
yeah, they did something fucked up. I think I'm okay with it. Like, I don't think these people are like, I don't think they're gonna go out and like
keep killing.
No, it took all 12
done.
of them to do it together.
Yeah. There is this like justification of this murder that's really interesting in this context that I find
it happens
like
throughout the movie too, like I'm saying, like where they're like, oh man, this is so egregious, what this guy orchestrated.
Yeah, and he was gonna get away with it, so it's not like he was like had a pending court trial or something. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting movie. I think B tier. There's
not a lot of commentary on the morality of it, which I kind of like. That it's just kind of like, yep, they all got together and killed him. We're not gonna turn him in.
I mean, I think the commentary is Poirot saying, it's fine.
Sure, insofar as like a comment can be considered a commentary. I mean, like it's not like a movie that is like thinking, like it's not reflecting on that like heavily. That's not like it's like thesis or its center point. Which I don't think it has to be at all. Like there's other movies like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it does it implicitly, which is cool, right? Like it has me thinking about it, like the commentary of it all.
Well, because there's also the ending where he presents the 2 solutions, like which one would you choose, and like boom, it ends, right? That's like the super like more artsy way, I would think. I don't think this movie should end like that. That would be so tone deaf, right? Especially if the story doesn't end like that. But it feels appropriate to what the movie was.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Fun movie. So, continuing with the It Could Be Anyone, or what I've written in my notes as Ikba, we are going to oscillate we're going to fucking throw ourselves against the opposite wall, and we're gonna watch. You remember?
Yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That's a fun one. I've seen it once before, many years ago. I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, I watched it in film school. It was fun.
Yeah, so it'll be cool.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a good time. I also think it's like kind of like a shorter movie, like maybe like less than
Like a
90 minutes
90-minute?
long.
Yeah, I
like
kinda
less
remember.
than 90 minutes even.
I kind of remember that too. So yeah, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. Thank you all so very much for listening to another episode of Cinema Forecast. Check us out on social media, Cinema FOURCAST, on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, all that shit, you know. And as we've been saying, leave a 5-star review. I haven't checked. I'll check for next episode. Don't worry. Maybe I checked last week because, oh my God, spoiler alert, we are recording out of order. Oh my God, it's insanity. Peek behind the curtain. Anyway, like, subscribe. We love you all so very much. Thanks for tuning in once again. And we will see you
In the forecast.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.